Hello and welcome to In the Studio Retro Retrospective. Tonight's episode we discuss Night of the Sentinels, the X-Men 90s cartoon classic from Fox TVs. This is how you spend your Saturday mornings. So sit back, relax, and we'll be right back with you. And hello, thank you for joining us. I'm the Janimal, and this is my fellow friend and artist,
Dave Beatty.
So tonight we're talking about X-Men's Night of the Sentinels from 1992. So how did you first hear about the TV show?
Well, the Fox animated cartoon series, I remember seeing ads and stuff for it, like in the comic books. I just remember being a big deal, like people talking about it, people excited about it. It was one of those things where, the X-Men was one of those really great, fantastic comic runs for so many years, like a award-winning series. Everybody loved it, so everyone seemed to be really excited about the cartoon. So I knew people that were talking about that the cartoon was coming on soon. I remember seeing the ads for it, so just kind of a confluence of things. But what about you? How did you first hear about?
I think I am a 90s Marvel fan, and I remember reading the Muir Island storyline, and then then once that ended, then they split into the two teams, and then I just remember, I guess it's probably in one of the X-Men books, there was an ad for it, and you're like, oh wow, and just to see that they took the comic book and there wasn't necessarily a Night of the Sentinels storyline.
Right.
There was not. No, there was not. Right.
They might have had a story called Night of the Sentinels, but I don't think it followed the storyline of the cartoon.
Yeah.
And if it did, it followed it with probably a different character, because I don't remember Jubilee being hunted down by the Sentinels.
Yeah. But the fact that they were all in their 90s costumes,
right? That's
what I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, oh, I can finally hear what Gambit sounds like. And wow, not what I was expecting. Really, really just stereotyping a Cajun accent. Wow, that's not racist. Just like, wow, you're really just selling it to me hard. But yeah, that's why I remember just probably through the comic books.
Yeah.
So we both talked about how we discovered the TV show, whether through just hearing about it or seeing the comic books. So it came out in 1992. It is now 2016. We've lived through several X-Men movies.
Yes.
Some pretty good. Some I didn't watch the last one, and I'm okay with that. How does the cartoon hold up now compared to not back then?
Well, I think it's one of those cartoons that I think is kind of like a standard or a staple. I would put it up there with, if you're an X-Men fan and you've never seen the cartoons from the 90s, you should really watch them. They followed a lot of the comic storylines, like really, really faithfully, beyond just the designs of the characters, just a lot of the storylines. And a lot of characters that I think we may begin to see show up in films now, but prior to that, I mean, all those different characters, they would just roll them out.
And they didn't have Deadpool, did they?
I don't remember Deadpool specifically, but I do remember when they did all the stuff with the Shi'ar Empire, and they did the Dark Phoenix saga. Of course, we're supposed to be talking about
I'm sorry.
Just, seeing Gladiator and the Imperial Guard and all that stuff was absolutely amazing. So if you're a fan of the X-Men, and if you enjoy the 90s era comics, you really do owe it to yourself to actually track down and at least watch a couple of the episodes, because it very much captures that flavor in a lot of ways. But that being said, it is a product of its time, but it's just, to me anyway, it's a standard. I mean, like watching some of the Super Friends cartoons, specifically Challenge of the Super Friends, where, and again, I'm a DC guy, but if you look at those cartoons where you have the Justice League of America versus the Legion of Doom, if you're a DC fan, that's a staple. That's a standard. Yeah. So if you're a fan of that, you should be at least versed enough that you've seen it. So I look at these X-Men 90s cartoons, especially the Night of the Sentinels, in a similar sort of vein. It's kind of a standard for me. So what do you think?
I own the season 1 box set of the X-Men cartoons, and it's nice that I could watch it with my son, who is 7, so that's kind of cool, and he can be like, oh, that's who's that? I'm like, well, son, that's we don't really know yet. So they're dated. It's like if you're a grown adult now watching them, it's like going back in your childhood. It's like if you were a child of the 90s, you definitely watch this. You watched the Spider-Man animated one. If you're a child of the 80s though, you watch G.I. Joe and you watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So it's a nice snapshot in time, and it's something that as a parent you can just watch with your child and go, like no one really gets hurt. It's a cartoon. Despite the storylines were pretty cool and pretty deep. They delved in deep to things, but it's cartoon at the end of the day. Worth watching, just for the nostalgia of it all. So I like it. And I will watch it again probably this weekend with my son.
So, and just to drive a point home, so you would throw this in with the 90s Spider-Man cartoons?
In the sense that it was in the 90s. Because even the Spider-Man animation, that was a little brighter, cleaner, crisper. Maybe the transfer was weird, but this one...
See, for me, I think of this more in terms of like the classic 60s Spider-Man cartoons, like as being like a staple. Because it's like, if you think about it, it is the X-Men... And a lot of those classic comic storylines, warts and all, you know what I mean? Like it's all right there. And I mean, for me personally, I would probably lump it in as in terms of Marvel animation as being more of maybe a classic, just because I think that in terms of X-Men, it can sit on the shelf with the 60s Spider-Man cartoons, and those I think are kind of a staple or a standard too. So.
I would hold it with, because I don't remember the 60s ones. I mean, I've seen them, in passing, but 80s Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah, that's also a classic. Yeah, I would.
So the 80s would be Amazing Friends, and 90s is X-Men, 2000s, I don't know.
I don't think there's anything.
That's when animation kind of.
Well, I mean, there's the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That was actually a pretty good show, and that one went kind of deep too, where they started talking about the classic Captain Marvel with the green and the white and outfit. Like there's been some good stuff, but for me, it's like when I specifically when I think about the X-Men 90s cartoons,
the hands down.
I would say it's in my mind anyway. It's a classic. Like on DC terms, if we're at equate it in DC terms,
that's Batman animated series.
Well, no, I would say it goes on the same shelf that the Challenge of the Super Friends goes on.
Oh, okay.
It sits on that same shelf.
That had the twins, right?
No, I don't think Challenge of the Super Friends didn't have the Wonder Twins in it. I don't think.
Did it have the annoying boy and the dog?
No, that's before. Challenge of the Super Friends was the first one that was just the straight up. The Justice League versus the Legion of Doom, if I remember correctly.
Meanwhile, back in the Legion of Doom, that one?
Well, yeah, they had the classic voiceover narration, but it wasn't the the Marvin and Wendy and the Wonder Dog. It wasn't that stuff. No,
okay.
But
they played it straight.
Well, for the most part. For the most part, yeah. I mean,
okay.
But at the same point too, by playing it straight, that also means like even the things that are kind of silly, like they just put it in there and leave it. But that's what I'm saying. It's like I would put that on. I would in DC terms, it goes on the same shelf as Challenge of the Super Friends.
Okay.
In my mind, Batman the Animated Series is actually
That's a whole
there's another shelf.
That's where
And then
the
Batman the Animated Series sits up there with movies like Mask of the Phantasm or Return of the Joker, and it's its own. Literally, that shelf is basically dominated by Batman. It's
and
that's Batman's
and
shelf.
We'll talk about those at another time. But
Yeah.
expect us to be up late watching cartoons again.
But the second shelf, the classic standards that people should be familiar with, I would put the 90s X-Men cartoons like on that shelf.
But the shelf right below that you could put the 90s Spider-Man one.
No, that goes lower.
Above the Hulk one?
No, that goes down there with the MTV Spider-Man.
No, that's
The fourth
bad.
shelf.
No, that's
Maybe the fifth shelf.
no.
Yeah.
It did some. The 90s Spider-Man isn't bad. He did. I mean, the Venom storyline.
I like the 90s Spider-Man cartoons just fine.
Yeah.
But it's for me, like in terms of Spider-Man, I would put like, the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon
From the 60s.
from the 80s. No, I would put the 60s first. I would do Spider-Man's Amazing Friends second.
Yeah.
Then I would do the Spider-Man cartoons from the 80s.
I don't remember those.
And then maybe after that, I might put the 90s one.
90s?
I like the 90s one fine. I'm not hating on it. It's just for me, it goes on a...
Too much
it goes on a
weird
different
computer
shelf.
graphic background. That was
Well, it would be hypocritical for me to be, mean about computer generated backgrounds. that's the pot calling the kettle black, for sure. But no, I mean, it's just for me. There's something about those cartoons. It's like it's good, but it doesn't. I guess it's because it's not close enough to the Spider-Man as I remember it. But I mean, there's been a lot of great Marvel anime cartoons. Like I would. Not everyone would agree with me on this, mind you. This is purely my opinion, but I would put the 60 Spider-Man cartoons ahead of it. I would put the X-Men cartoons ahead of it. Spider-Man's Amazing Friends I would put ahead of it. I would put the Fantastic Four cartoons from the 60s. I really enjoyed those. I was serious about that on our Fantastic Four episode. I would put those ahead of it. There's been a lot of really good Marvel TV animated productions I would probably put in front of that one. Even as weird and quirky as they are, I think I even enjoyed the weird, almost Clutch Cargo stop motion ones that they did that took the comic book art directly from the comics.
And they just moved them out like that.
Yeah, and
those are cool.
Like
I mean,
the Thor stuff, I thought was really great, and I really liked the Namor stuff. Like that stuff's actually kind of cool.
I remember seeing rows of those box sets at conventions.
And it's
I never
fun
pulled the trigger.
stuff.
I kind of wish I did.
And the one cartoon series I never hear anyone talk about that I really loved as a kid, that I've only seen a couple episodes of, but I still enjoy, is the Hulk cartoon from the 80s with that really like kick-ass intro.
It would come after this amazing
that stuff
Super Friends.
Yeah, that stuff was fun. So that's the thing. It's like, DC has an amazing legacy when we start talking about animation, whether it's these newer DVD films that they've done, like Under the Red Hood and even Crisis on Infinite Earth. Like, I think I got that wrong. Crisis, whatever the name was. There's been a lot of really good, between New Frontier.
That's a good one.
Tales of the Return. Now you can tell I'm getting tired. Can you tell it's late? Dark Knight Returns. Batman Year One. I mean, DC has an amazing legacy when we talk about, and that doesn't even count. Yeah, and that doesn't even count. Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited. Like they've had so many amazing animated productions, but for Marvel, they've had some really good ones too. It's just they're not as celebrated or remembered, and I think it's because for whatever reason, like they didn't get played in reruns as much. They didn't get repackaged and put out there as much.
Yeah,
and I think that. Of anything, I think that's what's damaged their legacy. So it was because they're just not, they weren't on TV as much.
But at least X-Men, Night of the Sentinels, it holds a special place in both our hearts. And on that note, we're going to say goodnight or goodbye, or I don't know what time it is. But thank you for joining us. And again, I'm The Janimal. You can catch me on Facebook at The Janimal Draws. And
well, you can catch me on Twitter at Dave B Cartoonist. I'm on Instagram as Dave B Comics, and I'm also on Facebook just under my name, Dave Beatty.
So, all right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care. Slate. Even though I'm stick my hands out.
Yeah, you wanna.
Yeah, we should do that again.
Yeah. you wanna.
I'm Paula Abdul. I know.